Guys, things are about to get absolutely wild in the crypto space. We're right at the edge of something huge, and if you're not paying close attention, you're going to miss out on what could be a game-changing moment. Seriously, if your eyes aren't on this right now, you're setting yourself up to be left behind. That's why today I absolutely have to walk you through every single thing you need to know, especially if you're holding even just a little bit of crypto in your wallet. Whether you're deep in the game or just getting started, this concerns you directly. The big question is, are we about to go up or take a dive? Stick with me, we're gonna break it all down together.
Until the very last second of this video, we're gonna go over all the key info, everything you need to be aware of. So first, let me welcome you all to Holding Crypto. If this is your first time here, we do this every single day, bringing you fresh updates about crypto and how to actually make money in this fast-moving, high-potential market. If you're new to the channel, make sure to hit that subscribe button and ring that little bell so you don't miss any of our future insights. Trust me, they could change your game entirely. All right, now let's jump right into the core of what's happening. Starting with Bitcoin, what's the situation? Well, to be completely honest, not a whole lot of dramatic movement so far. We hit resistance right at that orange line, sitting at exactly $106,500. That's the zone where things stalled out. Since then, we've seen a classic pullback, and now the price has started gradually sliding back down very slowly but clearly toward that dotted yellow trend line.
At the moment, we're hovering around $103,700. This specific level right here is one to keep a close eye on. It's not just a random price point. It could act as a very strong support level if we see more downside. Personally, I'm expecting this zone to hold up well. In fact, there's a whole liquidity cluster around it that could boost Bitcoin upward again. So even though we've seen a dip, my broader view hasn't changed. Far from it. We're still looking at this from a daily time frame perspective. And right now, I'm still seeing bullish potential. There's that M2D money supply curve represented by the blue line. Bitcoin has historically moved in tandem with it when it trends upward. And this time looks no different. That line is moving up, and Bitcoin is trailing behind it, with plenty of room to catch up. So based on that, I'd say we've got a promising situation forming. And if we turn our attention to altcoins, Ethereum in particular is standing strong. It's firmly holding above that $2,500 mark. And that's not just luck. Ethereum, honestly, is one of the few altcoins that still shows clear structural strength right now. And guys, let me be real with you. The reason I kept my Ethereum strategies open, even when everyone around me was screaming to sell, is simple. I trust the bigger picture. At a time when people were panicking, saying Ethereum was finished, that it was going to drop to zero, and that Solana was the only coin worth holding, I said no. I said, let's wait and see. Sometimes Solana takes the spotlight, and sure, it has its bullish moments, but there are also times when Ethereum quietly builds strength and takes off. Ironically, some of the same people who were telling me to dump Ethereum a while back are now telling me to buy it again and sell Solana instead. Do you see how quickly the market sentiment flips? That's exactly why you need to develop your own convictions, your own strategy. Because if you follow the noise, you'll be too late to every move. And let me double down on something important here. I still believe Solana has its moment coming. It may not feel like it right now, especially with all the concern around new token launches or plans for its own blockchain, but that's part of the evolution. Sure, right now, people are worried that a lot of Solana's revenue comes from meme tokens like pump.fun, and they wonder if it's sustainable. But again, I'm going to say what I always say. When people thought Ethereum was going to zero, Solana bounced back. Right now, I see no logical reason to sell Solana. Will there be volatility? Of course, that's crypto. The markets move. That's just how it works. But if we manage our risks smartly and avoid liquidation, we can actually benefit from these waves. In fact, we've already made $170,000 just riding that volatility before. So this isn't fear, it's opportunity. I'm not worried at all. Now, technically, Solana is sitting under that key level of $157. Ideally, we want it to hold above that. If you zoom in, you'll see that every time price has gotten close to the orange line around 150, there's been a decent bounce. Sure, it hasn't managed to break through resistance, not yet, but it's holding its ground. Just like I said earlier today, Solana seems to be consolidating in a tight range, maybe between two key zones. And once that range is broken, we could see a solid move upward again. So that's what I'm expecting with Solana. But stepping back to look at the bigger picture, traditional markets are actually doing okay. We're getting close to breaking through the previous swing high. You can see it marked by the dotted yellow line, and we're right at the edge of surpassing it. If that happens, we're heading toward the next orange resistance line, sitting at 1060. That would be a very positive sign. All in all, things are looking reasonably good for crypto going forward, but there are several macro factors we need to talk about. First up, private sector hiring. Yes, companies are hiring, but way less than expected. That's a red flag. It's a clear signal that the economy is starting to slow down, especially in the United States. And remember, the US basically dictates the tone for global markets. Following the latest employment report, Trump came out once again praising Fed Chair Jerome Powell, saying he's amazing and should lower rates now. That statement came just minutes after the ADP jobs data was released, which showed the weakest job growth in over 2 years. The numbers were shockingly bad. So now the big question, will the Fed finally start cutting interest rates? Honestly, probably not. They're still fighting inflation on the other side. But if the current trend continues, pressure will mount. Trump also wants to eliminate the debt ceiling altogether. And that's a serious statement, because right now, the US is sinking deeper into debt. And that brings us to the heart of the issue. There are only two possible ways out of this crisis, and both lead directly to a massive Bitcoin rally. Stay with me. I'll break this down clearly in just a second. So here's what Trump is saying: eliminate the debt ceiling completely to avoid an economic disaster. That means unlimited debt issuance, basically printing as much money as needed with no cap. Now, think about that. One of his main goals before was reducing spending, especially with Elon Musk and even Dogecoin. They talked about controlling deficits. They wanted the US to stop spending recklessly. But now, Trump is going the exact opposite way. Musk didn't stay silent. He responded, call your senators, call your representatives. Putting America into bankruptcy is not an option. Drop this bill. It's crazy because not long ago, Trump and Musk looked like allies, but now they're publicly clashing. Musk wants this bill blocked, and he's not backing down. He added that 10% of US national debt is tied to a single piece of legislation. That's insane. According to Musk, the government is completely out of control. He also responded to Coinbase CEO Brian Armstrong, who warned if Congress doesn't start getting serious about paying down the debt, Bitcoin will become the world's reserve currency. Musk agreed. He said he loves Bitcoin, but also believes a strong America is crucial for the whole world. He said we have to fix our finances, then posted an American flag. Again, we're faced with two options. The problem with deficit spending is that short-term and long-term incentives don't line up. To reduce the budget deficit, politicians either have to raise taxes or cut spending, two extremely unpopular moves that no one wants to make, especially before elections. That's why no one dares tackle it for real. But it always leads to the same outcome: default or money printing. And you already know what more money printing means. Asset prices skyrocket. Bitcoin, in particular, benefits from this dynamic. It's no longer some fantasy. Bitcoin is now on track to become a true reserve asset. That might actually be the only way for the US to escape this trap. They're taking on way too much debt. Spending is out of control. And that's why, if we look at yields, especially on the 30-year, we saw them climb to 5.2% on the daily time frame. Even the 10-year hit 5% recently. These are very high levels. Why? Because there's a real fear of US default. And if you're holding government bonds and getting paid in a possibly devalued currency, why would you want to take that risk? That's why yields are rising. Fewer and fewer investors, institutions, or even countries want to hold US bonds. It's becoming dangerous. So what could the government do? Either devalue the dollar or peg Bitcoin as a reserve. It's a high-stakes gamble. And if you're holding US bonds and the dollar crashes, those assets could become close to worthless. But for us, the ones who believe in Bitcoin, this is bullish news. Sure, it might not show up immediately in the price, but it's building up. As this reality becomes more obvious, Bitcoin will benefit. Institutions know this too. In fact, JP Morgan Chase is now accepting Bitcoin as collateral. And that's huge because here's the play. The wealthy never sell their assets. They borrow against them. Let's say you have a portfolio worth 50 million. You go to the bank and they give you dollars based on that. You keep the assets. You never sell. And you still have liquidity. That's how wealth grows. And now you can do that with Bitcoin too. That's a game changer. It boosts Bitcoin's global recognition. It improves liquidity, increases use cases, and brings in even more wealth for holders. It's a win across the board. Even if the dollar gets devalued, Bitcoin will keep climbing. Even if it doesn't, Bitcoin is still seen as a major institutional asset. The trend is firmly in place. It's just a matter of patience. Like I've always told you, the Bitcoin peak won't happen in 2025. It's more likely coming in 2026. Sure, prices may rise again by late 2025, but we haven't seen the big explosion yet. That's still ahead of us, so be patient. Finally, what's happening worldwide? Things are tense. Trump recently had a long 1-hour conversation with Putin, and Putin made it clear he would retaliate after Ukraine's weekend attack. Wars are breaking out across the globe. The US economy is in crisis. The whole world feels unstable right now. It's chaos everywhere. And in the middle of it, I'm just holding my Bitcoin, waiting, letting it play out. Because in the end, it always works out. Bitcoin always climbs again. That's why patience is your best weapon. That's all I've got for today. Thanks so much for watching this video, and I'll see you in the next one.